Okay, the October 12th Board of Selectmen's meeting is called to order at 6 o'clock. Please note that Sheila is absent tonight. And so we'll approve, I'll entertain a motion to approve the September 28th Selectmen meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
I did have one
Okay.
thought on that, though, just quickly.
Sure.
On the vote for the RSU 21, I believe that the feeling by the board at the time of the vote was that the vote for Kennedy Smith would be recorded as a 203 as opposed to a 230. It's a small point, but I think it's important to have that
Okay.
in the final minutes. Thank you.
Right. So as amended then, everybody agree?
Yes,
all right.
as amended, thank you.
Okay, so as amended. It's a public forum. It's the opportunity for anyone who wants to address the Board of Selectmen with any issue that is not on the agenda.
Hi, Tracy O'Rourke, Town Clerk. I just wanted to let everyone know that absentee ballots are now available for the November election. They can be picked up in the clerk's office. You can give us a call at 967-1610, and we can mail them to you. Or if you go to the website, there's a link where you can request it online, and I will mail them to you as well. They're available until November 2nd. At that point, absentee balloting cannot be issued any further.
Recording in progress.
So I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. Absentee ballots are ready. Thanks.
Thanks, Tracy.
What was that? Recording, okay. Thank you, Tracy. Is there anybody else? Anybody in the audience?
No hands raised.
No hands raised, okay. So moving on, we're going to open a public hearing for the November warrant. And so I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. So we're going to be in a public hearing for all of these. We're not going to close and reopen and close and reopen. But I'd like to say that for this evening, we would have welcome you to speak on any of these items, but only once on each of these items. So we're not looking to have people be in the interest of time. We're looking to have people speak once, and we're going to limit your speaking to 4 minutes. And Yanina here will look after the time. And when we get to the 4-minute level, a 3-minute level, she'll just give you a little bit of a warning. She won't say anything, but just sort of look over. We've just got so many people that probably want to speak that in the interest of time, that's the way we're going to handle it tonight. So we have the acceptance of the 2030 comprehensive plan, and that would be Werner.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight I'm here to speak regarding a number of updates to the comprehensive plan. As you all may recall, the town previously had voted to accept the comprehensive plan. And what we have here before you all are a number of amendments to that plan. You may ask, well, why did we vote on a plan and now all of a sudden we have some amendments? And so what we have here is that we followed a timeline and a process for the comprehensive plan. The town followed all of its guidelines and submitted our comprehensive plan timely to the state for their review. And then that's where our comp plan sat with the state. They exceeded their time limit that they were by statute in terms of when they were required to respond back to us. I will say it's because of the fact that there is one individual at the state level that's responsible for the review of all comprehensive plans in the state. And so they have a pretty significant backlog. So what we did get back is we got a couple of notes back from the state review that they requested amendments to our plan to render it consistent with the Growth Management Act. And so that's what these amendments are. They're relatively minor in nature. I'm happy to go over them, but if folks want to hear about them, but I know we've discussed them numerous times before.
Okay, any questions from anybody? Comprehensive, okay.
Great.
I should have mentioned to everybody, and I didn't, that public hearing, the purpose of the public hearing is to get your comments, but none of the warrant articles will be changed. So the way the warrant articles are written now are the way that you'll see them when you go to vote on November 7th, okay? So we're good. Okay, for the amendment for the street opening ordinance, Chris?
Hi, everyone. So again, we've talked about these changes, but these changes are in the form of a change to process, changes due to current construction costs and materials, and then also an introduction of repair standards to the ordinance so that we can just ensure that we have satisfactory repairs of these street openings. So the most notable changes were the bond amount has been changed to a minimum of $5,000 for all openings. This is obviously due to the cost of asphalt now. We're paying quite a bit more for asphalt than we had been in the past. The Public Works Director will make a recommendation regarding additional surety amounts. You know, different jobs sometimes entail different scopes of work, so we just want to make sure if there is additional scope of work that, you know, we make sure that we're covered. The Public Works Director can also approve permit requests for street opening permits that are not, for streets that are not under moratorium. Moratorium meaning that the street hasn't been reconstructed in the past 5 years. Selectmen will still authorize street opening permits for streets that are under moratorium. We are also making the change to allow utility companies to perform their own repairs under the direction of the Public Works Director. We just have a strikeout of unnecessary language in the ordinance. And again, we just have an introduction of standards as to how the repairs need to be made for both temporary repairs and permanent repairs.
Okay, anybody, questions from the board? No. How's that? Anybody in the audience, questions on the street opening? Anybody out in TV land? Okay, thanks, Chris.
Well, just go in quickly.
And that's so far. Okay, the next one is the construction of the new town hall. So here's what we're gonna do. We have the architect and the engineer here, and they are gonna make a presentation, and they, after they make some of their presentations, then what I'm gonna do is make a couple of comments, and then I believe Mary Beth is gonna make a couple of comments, probably John, and then we'll take your questions after that. So why don't you go ahead, Owens? This is Owens McCulloch from Sebago Technics.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity tonight. My name is Owens McCulloch, civil engineer with Sebago Technics, and with me tonight is Mike Hayes, the project architect. Last year, the town went through a process to select a design team to begin helping a building committee look at a new town office at the North Street Village parcel. Next slide, please. And a little background just that I was educated on when we started the process, that the town offices have been housed at 6 Elm Street since 1960, or about 63 years. My understanding is the town has in the past considered rebuilding the town hall in another location a couple of times. I guess it was once in the 1980s with a combined police station, and again in 1999 with a combined fire department. Then in the late 1990s, the town approved the town hall construction, but apparently there was a lawsuit. The site was at, well, where we're at right now is my understanding. And as a result of that, they ended up doing some renovations at Elm Street in the existing building. And just to give you a sense, the current town office, the actual office area is about 3,723 square feet. If you include the garage space, the building space at Elm Street is 5,730 square feet. And we'll talk more about this in a moment, but there was a very thorough, thoughtful process that involved town staff looking at how the town operates, the type of uses, the space needs, all of the things that go along with town functions. And the space that came out is really the town should be having about 12,661 square feet. So it's willfully shy of what is really needed to operate effectively and efficiently. The new building will provide a public meeting and voting space to replace this space here. We understand that there's pressure for this space that for additional fire staff to eventually be converted for additional fire staff. Next slide, please. So the process that we've gone through to date started about 9 months ago or so, where the building committee was formed by the town. It was selected independently of us. It was selected by, I think, the town manager and with input from others, but it included town staff, it included public members, and I think there was about 15 that were on that committee. Is that about right, Yanina?
About right.
About 15 folks on it. So we initiated with meeting with all the staff. Mike spent a bunch of time going through the current building, looking at how they operated, and we sat down and did what they call a programming study, which basically assess how much space they have, how much space they need to functionally operate now and into the future. And then that was brought to the building committee with a process that went through about 8 renditions of different layouts of buildings, looking at everything from 2-story buildings to 2-story with basement to 1-story with a basement to 1-story only, and evaluating how all those departments and activities interact with each other. And that process took about 9 months to go through. And out of that process came a preferred option that the building committee selected. And we put some budget numbers to that, which is what is in for the article. Should it pass at the referendum vote, then we would move into the more substantive design, which is the geotech, site surveys, developing all those plans that are needed to put it out to bid. And this process is pretty normal. This is a pretty standard process. You go through schematic design first, get the program, figure out what you need, and then put a budget to it. And then if the budget carries on, then you spend the substantive design and engineering dollars after it's approved, when you know you have the money, because it's a pretty substantive effort. Then it moves into construction, bidding documents, goes out to bid. We'll have conversations with the construction delivery method. Won't get into great detail here on that, but there's different ways to actually get it built, and we would have that conversation. Next slide, please. And I think this would be a good point to introduce Mike, who will take you through the programming study and the space needs. So.
Thanks, Owens. Mike Hayes, Grant Hayes Associates Architects. So this slide just shows you the disparity between what the existing town office space has, 5,730 square feet if you consider the garage storage space, but truly the functional space for the staff to do all of their actual day-to-day, hour-to-hour work is 3,723 square feet. So it's fairly compact and small, very tight. Any of you who went to the open house were witness to that as you did the walkthroughs. When we completed the programming study, which basically involved sitting down and talking to every significant staff, department, functional area, and all the other pieces that go into it, we ended up at 12,661 square feet. Now that started somewhere around 11,500 square feet, ballooned to as much as 18,000 square feet, and then was whittled down to 12,661. And when Owens mentioned we went through 8 different concepts, they literally were a letter A through letter H, and sometimes there are multiple versions of certain letters. We also looked at, as he had already mentioned, single floor with the basement, multiple floors with a basement, trying to come up with the best square footage and the best layout that would be functional and economical. So that's how we arrived at this particular square footage. Next slide, please. It's quite a big list, but these are the functions that the town hall and the staff perform and also need. So it's, as you can see, it's quite a list. All the departments are listed here, as well as their major functions. We're also included the public meeting areas and other support spaces like mechanical rooms, electrical rooms, sprinkler rooms, custodial, storage, vault, all those other things that go along with a town hall and its functions. Next slide, please. This was mentioned earlier. These are what we looked at as far as alternative floor plan designs, A through H. And there are multiples, I said, of some of these letters, but as you can see here, alternate A, single floor concept, space and function modifications were needed to that. Plan B, we reconfigured that single floor concept again. We still needed to, based on feedback and discussions, make modifications to that. We were then asked to look at multiple floor schemes. So scheme T2 was a 2-story. Reduced the footprint, but because the departments were located on different floors, there were some critical adjacency. We use the word adjacencies. One department relating to another department and be able to effectively communicate with that department became an issue with them being separated on multiple floors. Scheme D and E tried to address those. We still had issues with multiple floors and efficiencies. The multiple floor functions also presented a difficulty in that we had to increase the square footage to accommodate elevators, 2 sets of stairs for fire egress. Having restrooms and other functions on 2 different floors were repetitive and not very efficient from a square foot standpoint. F, again, was a variation of E, again, not desirable. So we then started to bring it back to a single floor scheme, looked at a basement for additional storage. That still needed an elevator and 2 means of egress for fire, meeting fire code. And then we ended up at alternate H, which went back to single floor scheme, all the departments being together so that they could interrelate effectively and efficiently. And we were able to economize the size back down to what you saw in the previous slide, 12,661 square feet. Next slide, please. So here is the proposed floor plan of the building. Again, single floor. The bottom of the sheet or the display here would be North Street, and you'll see that later on the site plan that Owens will discuss. And to the right will be the parking area beyond off sheet on the right. So when you look at this floor plan, from that yellow area to the left is all of the basic major functions of the town staff. The clerk's office is in orange. The blue area is the town management. And the green area is codes and planning and assessing. The middle yellow area is what we would call the concourse or the main lobby. The main entrance, we have 2 main entrances. One is off North Street where the cursor is, and the other one is off to the right to the parking area where the cursor is now. So this concourse area serves as the major public way. This is where the public would come in, queue up in front of the transaction windows at the permitting department in green. Oh, sorry, yeah. Okay, the clerk's department there in orange, and then further up the sheet in the green area where building permits and such would be. There's a transaction window there too. This lobby area is also used for There would be seating in there, there'd be informational kiosks, highly public active space. The teed yellow area called the ante room or the ante area going into the large meeting area, that's for people to gather who are maybe need to do a little preparation or have conversations before they go into what would be a public meeting. There's the purple areas there are all really public access areas in that zone. The large meeting area where the cursor is now would seat about 100 people. That area, that meeting space would be for large public meetings, Board of Selectmen meetings, Planning Board. This is also where voting would happen, and it would also could be used for emergency shelter purposes. Adjacent, just up the sheet, is a large storage room for all the tables and chairs, double doors, and to the right of that would be where AV would be located. To the bottom left of that large meeting room is a smaller meeting room, and that meeting room is, again, a public use, but it also can be used for breakout executive sessions from the large meeting room for any of the boards that need to use that. On the left-hand side of the plan, in the orange area, you have the clerk's office, and there's 3 transaction windows, and there's future expansion for additional 2. So we've planned into these other departments you see a certain percentage of future growth. The vault is also quite large, and that should be able to take care of any of the vital records that need to be stored, which still need to be in paper form for quite a long time. The blue area to the left is town manager's office. So there's the town manager, there's the technology folks, there's HR, treasurer. There's also room for seasonal interns. There's an open area for meeting and future expansion. And there is also a private meeting space there also. We did connect the town manager's office to the clerk's office, a secured corridor, so that the treasurer and the clerk, who are often in communication as well as with the town manager, that's a secured access between those 2 departments. Up the sheet in the green area is the, as I said, planning, codes, and assessors. This area too also has a large meeting room in it that can be utilized for project overviews, project meetings between the planners and the code officers, with developers, contractors, design professionals as needed. And that area also will have not only offices, but open space that will be utilized for some future expansion and seasonal interns. They deal with a massive amount of files, both electronically and paper. So in that large open space there, that would accommodate that. Toward the end in purple, there's a staff break room, some staff restrooms, and outside the staff break room, there's a small patio out there for some outdoor meetings or lunch. This is connected by a path all the way around the back of the building to the parking lot. Other spaces that are involved are to the top of the plan. There's a bulk storage room. It's quite large. This is where the voting machines would be kept, as well as a whole mess of other things that are needed in a building this size. To the bottom of that is a mechanical electrical room. There's also a sprinkler room to the right of that. And then we've got an outdoor storage room, which is for all those things that are needed to keep a walkways clear and all of that stuff, so that everybody forgets about. So that's pretty much the floor plan. Next slide, please. So these are the exterior elevations. There's 2 slides of the elevations. And we've tried to design this based on also lots of input, but it's got an overall traditional New England style of architecture with some contemporary features involved. The materials that you're seeing here are, they're mostly commercial mid-range materials that are cost-effective, durable, long-lasting, easy to maintain, much similar to the interior, which I didn't discuss, but I can go back to that in a moment. So the bottom part is a pre-manufactured stone-looking base panel that is rather economical and durable. Above that are composite shingles, shingle siding, and clapboard siding. And you'll see that the shingle siding is predominant on the front or the west and south sides. These are the front-facing parts of the building. We broke up the elevation on the west side over on the left end with a gable and some clapboard siding just to change it up a little bit and break up the roof masses. We also included a dustpan dormer over the main entrance doors, which you see in the middle there, the two pairs of doors that were on the plan in the vestibule. The sloped roofs will have architectural roof shingles, and above that, there'll be a portion of the roof that will be a rubber membrane roof. And on the south elevation, or actually on both those elevations, to the right of the west elevation, you see a taller portion of the building that is right now proposed to be the meeting area. One of the discussions we heard in the open houses was that possibly we don't need a space that tall, and it might be more energy efficient for that space to be the same height as the rest of the building. We'll certainly take that under consideration. That was a good point given. When we do the energy modeling of the building, determine the energy usage, we'll be looking at that very closely to see, the efficiency of that particular space. Next slide, please. So these are the north face and the east side. The north face would be to the left of the plan. We'll look at that. We'll go back to that in a minute. And the east side is basically the back side of the building. As you can see on this east side elevation and on the right-hand side of the north elevation, these parts aren't quite visible to the public or, driving down the street or from the parking area. So we're looking to economize on the cost of the exterior by changing the shingle clapboard, the shingle siding to a clapboard siding. It's just a little bit less per square foot, not hugely, but we're looking for everything we can do to make this an economical project. If you can go back for me, I apologize, to the floor plan. Thank you. Interior materials. We're looking at commercial, mid-grade, highly durable, very cost-effective, and low-maintenance materials. Most of the office areas will be carpet tile, and as well as the meeting rooms for sound absorption and just good traffic underfoot. The other areas will have what we call laminated vinyl tile, or LVT, more of a solid surface, good wear layers. The walls will be sheetrock painted. The ceilings will be suspended acoustical ceilings. The door and window frames will be painted metal, and the doors will be a wood veneer with a transparent finish to give some warmth to the interiors. So pretty basic stuff. To the left of the plan, outside of the blue area to the left, there's a door leading out of that corridor that you see in purple. That is a possible future expansion space to the left of that. And you'll see that when we get to the site plan, what's available out there. Anywhere from 900 to 1,000 square feet would be available from a land standpoint to the left of the plan for future expansion. In addition, should that happen anywhere down the road, decades or more. I want to make a point that the building plan design is set up for a real keen sense of a secured facility. So the yellow concourse area and the functions to the right would be pretty much open to the public during business hours. So it's pretty free flowing. But everything to the left of that is very secured. There's that purple corridor is that door leading from the concourse to the Purple Corridor is access controlled. So employees would have identity card or fob or something that they would place on a card reader to get in. But also, staff members would go to that door and bring whatever people are coming into the space, into that interior space, they'd be escorted in. So it's a very secured environment for the employees. They can go back and forth between departments, as freely as they need to. So we really had the exits around the perimeter that aren't the two main exits are access controlled also. And they're placed to meet fire code and also in recognition of, again, secured exiting should the situation arise. And that's it for that. Site drawing?
Thank you, Mike. The site plan that's shown up here in front of you shows the building to the north, facing with the primary face towards North Street. There's an existing sidewalk on North Street. We're looking to construct a horseshoe-type sidewalk that comes up to the building to give it a little definition and presence. There'll be a sidewalk from the front of the building all the way around to the back of the building, which we kind of expect will likely be the primary access. Could you show put the cursor where they access into the common space? Up right there. Perfect. Thank you. So that is that access that Mike showed in yellow that goes from the parking lot into the building. That's where we expect that you would have most of the flow of people coming in and out of the building. The parking lot is designed to provide 54 parking spaces. Separate access road coming in. That access road follows the alignment that was generally on the prior plans for when this parcel was looking to be developed. It provides an opportunity not only for access to our site, but also if there's something down the road that might happen further into the site. We are looking at public water and sewer. Public water or sewer is down by Reed Lane, so there'd have to be a slight extension up and then up the driveway into the building. Public water runs in front of the site. The building would be sprinkled in it. The site would have LED lighting, and we have had conversations, and it's programmed into the cost and the budget for solar, whether that solar is roof-mounted, partially roof-mounted, or site-mounted. That will be fleshed out and determined as we go along and complete the energy modeling on the building. There's a wooded area it would be to the east on the right-hand side. That wooded area is developable. It has potential for either use as for solar, maybe ground-mounted solar, or should there be a need for additional parking in the future, that area is available and could be expanded into the site. Next slide, please. So cost, that's been a substantive conversation with the committee and developing a budget that we think works with this project. So let me talk about cost a little bit. So everybody probably understands that there's been, since the pandemic, there's been some pretty significant changes in costs as we've gone along. There's between inflation, labor shortages, supply chain issues, we've seen pretty substantive jumps. I think the National Home Builders Association has talked well over 30%. AGC has talked about double digits each year. And, I have a project at the Portland Jetport for replacing an air handling unit that I think would have probably been around $700,000 or $800,000 a few years ago, and now it's well over almost $1.5 million, and it takes a year to get it. so get the materials. So there's been, while material costs seem to have moderated, labor costs are continuing to rise. So we tried to look at a cost that recognized inflationary pressures, looked at actually spoke with a variety of different builders and contractors and our experience in recent building projects and what those costs have been on a per square foot basis to arrive at a budget. And there's quite a range of it. We tried to pick a middle ground range that we felt was achievable for the budget, for the project, and we could build what we would need to for this project. And again, this is a not to exceed budget. So in other words, if there's cost savings, they're just not spent. There is a contingency in the budget of 15%, which is about $1.1 million, and that contingency is pretty customary to include in a project. You know, maybe if we get into the full design and the energy modeling and our engineers look at it and geothermal becomes an option or a desire, there's contingency can accommodate that. Or if there's ledge or sewer or other things that get into, we carry a contingency to do it. So it's pretty customary to carry that. Site construction, we were able to look a little closer at site construction between paving, sewer, water, excavation, prepping the building, the pads, the LED lighting, which would all be dark sky lighting. All of those items we tried to put into a budget to come at a site cost. And then looking at permit fees, there's builder's risk insurance, there's electrical service fees. It's interesting around electrical transformer, getting transformers and electrical extensions have continued to keep rising in cost over time. If you can even get a transformer, sometimes it takes a year to get them right now. So we have to try to do our best to account for those things. There's actually a sewer impact fee, but I have it on good that Mr. LaBelle, who runs the plant, we probably can work around that. The Kennebunkport Wells Water District also has an impact fee. We carried a budget based on a conversation I had with Scott Miner, who's the general manager. And then carry an allowance for construction services, a clerk of the work, materials testing, commissioning of the buildings, all those things that go along with a project. And so we've developed a budget, and again, this is a not to exceed budget of $8.8 million. If the passes at referendum, then we would move into the comprehensive design, which is where we spend a lot of money with mechanical, electrical, geotechnical, structural engineers. And at that point, then we begin to zero in on construction cost for the building. But we've carried a budget. Some people will tell us we're high, some people will tell us we're low. So we've tried to carry a budget that we think is thoughtful and representative of where we need to be at to achieve the goals that the building committee has come up with. Next slide, please. So timing, everybody asks about schedule. Should the project or the funding be appropriated, we would move into permitting and building design beginning in November, work probably until May of this year to get through the design. Bidding the project hopefully in June, July, and then moving into construction, which would likely be the August time frame, and then completing about a year, well, a little more than a year and a quarter, 15 months after the start of construction. So move in, hopefully, would be around December of 2025. When you finish a project in the late fall, sometimes in the spring of the following year, you have surface paving that goes down just because of weather, some landscaping that has to be completed. So there could be some items that trickle into 2026. Next slide, please. That concludes our presentation. I would like to simply thank the committee. We had a really good dialogue with the committee over the last 9 months. They asked a lot of great questions, a lot of tough questions. It was a very interactive, involved process, and I appreciated everything that everybody brought to the table, so.
How many committee members are here tonight? Would you raise your hand? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6? Okay, so thank you
Thank
for
you.
all the work you did. The other thing I want to thank the people who visited, took the opportunity to take tours. And then I've got some comments I want to make that weren't brought up during this specific presentation. And the question that often gets asked is, mostly gets asked, I guess, is why did we pick the village parcel site? And if you go back to when we bought the village parcel in 2018, we went through a bunch of visioning sessions. We got together with all the stakeholders in town from, you name it. We went from the various conservation commissions, the housing trusts, to cemetery committees, library, historical society, Rotary, et cetera, to get their input on all of this. And then we had 2 public visioning sessions with about 250 participants. We did that over a couple of weekends. So we had a lot of input, and that input included a wish, not a wish, but an opportunity to put the town hall on the village parcel. So that was back in, when we started all of this back in 2019. So, but the question still comes up, why didn't we pick other locations, and did we look at other locations? And the answer is yes, we did. And I know people don't, I know we've had people argue with us about what location we picked, and we didn't do enough to look at the other locations, but I tell you, we did. So the other locations that we considered and dismissed were the Wildwood Fire Station, and those are you people know where that is. It's in a bad intersection, and it's not a good place to have it. We also looked at the current town hall, and the current town hall was not constructed for a municipal building. It was constructed originally for the firehouse and for the health office, and it was then just broken up into various compartments and offices and so forth, so that we could have our municipal office there at Town Hall. So that's how that came about in 60-something years ago, and it is not conducive to adding up, going out. It's just not in good shape. And the parking, as you know, for the most part down there, and the traffic is not good. We also looked here at the North Street Fire Station, and this North Street Fire Station is going to be converted into per diem firefighters at some point in time, and that means that this room goes, and they're going to have to turn it into sleeping quarters along with eating quarters and so forth. So, and for those of you who don't remember, I just moved here back then, 99, 2000, and the town voted for a new town hall, and it was going to be here on this site. And a suit arose out of that for some reason. Actually, the townspeople actually voted for it, and then the town was sued for the location, and the town lost. So that's why the town hall back then, I don't remember the year, it was 2002 or 3 or something like that, and or maybe 1. So that was this site. And so we looked at this site, and we dismissed this site as well because of the various things that we have to do to make this ready for per diem firefighters. And then people ask about, well, why didn't you consider the police lot? And the answer to that is we discussed the police lot. But because of the contours of the police lot up there on top of the hill, we would have had to put an awful lot of build-up there and retaining walls and so forth. And the other drawback to that location is there's no sewer. So the sewer does not come up that way from School Street because of the peat bogs. And so they've never put the sewer up that far, and it doesn't go up the hill from Crow Hill. So there's no sewer. So we looked at we just kept, thought that we made the right choice for using the village parcel that right up here, about less than a quarter of a mile on the right-hand side. So I know a lot of people have questioned that, and I'm just telling you straight out that we looked all of it. We evaluated all of it, and we concluded that the best site for this the committee concluded that the best site would be the village parcel portion. The other thing that I'd like to also mention, there's been a lot of criticism, which I think is undue, about doing this the way that we did it, and that is we came up with a concept. We worked with engineers, we worked with architects, and we came up with a concept, and that's how we came up with the $450 a square foot and the rest of the cost. And we decided that the best way to do this was, and oh, by the way, most municipalities in the state of Maine that these Sebago techniques and others have worked with have used this method of doing a concept drawing and then getting approval for the money and then going out and doing the specific design. And when they get out to do the specific designs, then what they do is they do get a lot of input from various organizations and people in the community. So that's what we did. And that's why we're doing it the way we're doing it. The next steps will be that as we said, we'll get the design, we'll go out, we'll get a design, we'll get our bid package together, and we'll go for bid. Then the other question that always comes up is, why are you more expensive than what Arundel did? And I'm very happy for Arundel, what they did. The town hall that they have meets their needs, but that town hall would not meet our needs. We have more employees, and we're looking forward to the future so that we don't have to go and expand it in in the very near future at all. So we did look at Arundel. We're happy for them, but that is not what we need in this town. And then the question came out and said, well, why don't you go talk to Willett Construction Company and talk to them? Well, we did. And we found out that the Arundel municipal building, if it was built today, would be 35 to 40% more expensive. So we're in the ballpark as far as that goes. Then, so I want to bring up this thing about Willett. We keep getting, talk to Willett, talk to Willett. They're a really good construction company, and I need to let you know that, and let the people who are questioning our method, is that I was the program manager on Graves Library, working with the board there on the expansion of Graves Library. How did we do that? Well, the board and myself and others at the library did exactly what we did here. And we go with a concept design, and we went with, Deb Bauman here helped us with the interior design. We had a local architect help us with the exterior, et cetera. So then we decided that what we would do is hire somebody to write the request for quote. We did that, and we went out for bid. And guess who we went out to bid to? 4 companies. One of them was Willett. And Willett worked with the library and with me and other people there, and we had a great experience with Willett. So I would expect that when we go out for bid, that Willett will be one of the companies that we would ask to bid on. So I'm going through all of this only because there's been some indication at some of these meetings that we haven't done our job, okay? And I'm telling you that these people who are on the committee and the people who are the townspeople who are on the committee and the people here that were involved on the Board of Selectmen did our job, and we did it for the taxpayers. And so what I'd like to do right now is, we've talked about this not to exceed amount. So We started out at 8.8 million. We're looking at getting $1 million, hopefully, from the current town hall, and applying that to the whatever the cost ends up to be, it'll be applied, and whatever the price ends up being, that'll be applied. We're looking to use $800,000 from the capital reserve, sell property we own on Beechwood for $200,000, and we got a $500,000 anonymous donation in support of the new town hall. So when you take a look at that, okay, somebody mentioned last meeting that, yeah, it still cost $8,800,000. No, that's correct. And so but we got it down to, using these numbers I just told you, we got it down to a bond level of $6.3 million. And so we're asking, in this warrant, we're asking for a number not to exceed $8.8 million. And I'd like to have Mary Beth Gilbert talk about the way that we expect to go about this.
Sure, thanks, Mike. So, like Mike said, the 8.8 not to exceed. You've heard from previous discussions we've had on the board here with you all during these meetings, and in the discussions that we've had with the budget board, specifically the items that Mike went through, and continuing to try to raise funds. So the premise here is to try to reduce any tax implication that we've shown as much as possible with sale of land. When we get to warrant number 4, that's another warrant where funds would be utilized again for the town hall. In this, the point that Mike brings up and what the board has talked amongst ourselves is that 8.8 is not to exceed. So what happens if prices go up? What happens if, the estimate, as Owen and Mike talked to us, is greater? We've talked amongst ourselves that then the trade-offs start. So we're not looking to come back to increase the bond. We're looking to, if that comes to fruition, and if contingency wasn't enough, then we're looking to start cutting things, just like everybody else that lives per budget has to do in your own lives. So that's the approach. I think we're all in alignment on that. And also that, I know, John, if you wanted to talk about
I think it's important just to note that the impact in terms of the mill rate with the $6.3 million bond, if indeed we did need to go that high. As you know, there is also the option on the warrant to allow for the sale of the School Street property in support of this project. And that's the McCabe plot that's up to the left of the rec center, not behind it. That will still remain town property for potential expansion of the water system. But if that were able to sell, that would again lower. But at the 6.3, that would be on the order of a 12-cent impact on the mill rate. And if we do the numbers, that's $12 for every $100,000 of evaluation. So on a $500,000 home, what would that be? 5 times, it would be $60 a year. And that's real money. I mean, that's money. But that's the level of impact that this bond would create in terms of our wallets, which is an important consideration. Also, we are certainly going to keep the building as energy efficient as we possibly can, and we have a commitment to make it net zero. How we do that, how that can be worked in through combinations of renewable energy, purchasing renewable energy, however that will be done. But the building will be, and I think I sit on the Climate Action Planning Task Force as well. So I've had it drilled into me pretty hard. This is going to be a net zero building. And so I think I can say that with you. And I hope I don't have to hear from you later, but you won't. It will be net zero, so, yeah.
Thanks, John. Alan,
I'm all set.
She's all set.
You guys covered everything.
So, I see Bill Lord sitting in the front seat, and I got to tell you that I learned a lot from him just by going through his house on solar. If you want to see a really good example of efficient solar, I'm sure he'll take anybody through it wants to see it. Bill will do that. It's really a really amazing thing. So, is it better now? Good, all right. It's been a while since I've been there, but I'd like to go back. We've looked at a number of different, we've discussed a lot of different things as far as how we're going to be, as far as heating and air conditioning and solar. And until we get all of the, as Mike said, till we get all of the building designed to the specifications that we want, whether it's insulation or whether it's looking at solar or geothermal or whatever, heat pumps, that was the other thing I wanted to just mention is we're not planning on any fuel oil. We're planning on industrial size heat pumps and hopefully they're going to be powered by solar, whatever. And so the committee has given a lot of thought. We've had a lot of questions over the last 3 or 4 or 5 meetings that we've had with the public, and we've taken a pretty good bit of criticism, but that's why they pay us the big bucks, I guess. And so it's been a good discussion, though, throughout the whole thing. It's been a good give and take, and we've done our level best to convince everybody that we've done our job, we've done the best thing that we can do for the town, and yes, it's going to be a lot more expensive than we dreamed. If you go back and think about, take a look at what we proposed based upon what the Arundel municipal building had cost, when we had the original budget 2 years ago, we had $4.5 million in there. And that's with no real, we had a very initial design by David Graham, who is a local architect who's on our committee, and a layout so we did the exact same thing. So anyway, we're open now to questions. I ask you to keep your questions to 4 minutes. We have an official timer here. We've got a lot of people who may want to speak. If you would state your name.
Alto Inoue from Rockmarsh
Yeah.
Drive, Kennebunkport. I've been a citizen in Kennebunkport for...
Would you please wait to hand those out until after the
Well,
meeting outside the door? Thank you.
I was just
Would you
handing
please hand them
fact
out?
sheets that I like to
Right, would you please
present.
hand that out
But I also
outside the
would-
door?
I
when
want
you
to
go there?
apologize, but I don't know the rules of the road.
I told you the rules of the road earlier,
To
so.
give you the fact sheet that
Okay.
you screwed up in last
I'm going to ask you one more time to stop handing them out, and hand them out at the door when you leave.
Well, I wanted to present it to you, the fact sheets.
Okay, you've done that.
misrepresented.
Okay,
And I
you've done
wanted to
it.
make sure that I could seek your understanding of what's going to happen to the town hall. I am absolutely convinced that the town hall needs to be built. But without efficiency and,
Would you please get the,
I have to put the
you are not going to put that, is our police officer here?
Mike,
All right.
Mike, we got it.
This is what,
We need the information.
this is what I just handed out, and it is about Arundel. And I believe that we could do just as well to get to what they achieved. These are the facts. I didn't make them up. The fact checking can happen from town manager, and that we should be going for high performance, on-site generation commitment before we ask for any kind of bond issue. That's what I am trying to do. I'm trying to realize that I witnessed this as a Kennebunkport citizen, and I witnessed it as a Arundel vendor, which I am not in business anymore. I have no interest in doing solar business here. But I do have to say that what Arundel achieved is something that I am the only one in Kennebunkport that I witnessed. And I'm here to beg you, basically, to take a look at the facts and that we could achieve that similar goal. I know you stated that you're gonna be net zero, but it's totally different when you're buying solar credit from someplace else. When you're talking about geothermal and you're not having oil, it means that you're only shifting the energy load to electricity. Geothermal will take so much energy to power it.
Okay, your time's
Am I
up.
done?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Now,
Appreciate your time.
I think-
I'm not criticizing the building committee for what they've done so far. I really appreciate.
I wanna
and
say
I'm
something.
Guilty of not having had.
you know, this is the same things that you've told us time and again. And you had a meeting with Lori and I and other people at the town hall, and we discussed this a lot.
No,
Same thing.
we had a half an hour meeting, and you heard my pitch, and I never got a call from you or anything else.
Okay, okay.
You know, so there hasn't been a discussion between you and I, Mike.
No,
That's all.
no, there wasn't.
And
It was because it was, okay, we're done. So else wants to speak?
So I just need to.
Go ahead, say something, go ahead.
So I think we got off to a little bit of a rocky start right now. But I think Mike took the time to, go through all the past stuff to make sure that everybody had the information that's listening and that took the time to come in here today. I just want everyone to take a breath, all of us. I don't think you need to be here. But I just think we just need to
Listen,
come down.
hold on.
But you're good, Mike. But let's
No,
just-
wait a minute. I had a discussion with him before the meeting that we weren't going to put something up that says, vote no on the all right? So that's the
Okay.
whole
No,
issue.
that's fine.
The whole
That's
issue.
fine.
So I said, this is not a political thing. This is supposed to be a town thing and so before the meeting, I very nicely asked the gentleman to not put that up because if you can see, it's a heading right there that says vote no, although he says we need a new town hall. So,
No, I understand
okay,
now.
so that's why I
understand
got
now.
upset.
Yep.
And I deserve to get upset.
Yep.
I don't get up, have you ever seen me get
No,
upset?
no,
right.
I'm fine. I'm just
Okay.
saying that as we
So-
continue, if we could.
And I don't
yep.
apologize, I'm just
Nope.
saying,
Nope.
turn that around because, please, because I don't want to look at vote no. Would you turn that around, Eric? You got your message across. And you broke the agreement with me, so, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to allude to that. I didn't notice
Don't ever
that.
apologize for me, please.
No, I'm just saying as we
Thank
move
you.
forward right now, just so that we
Okay.
didn't go off of this momentum.
And I would just like to be sure that everyone is clear that we will be looking, this is going to come on the design phase. We have set our budget not to exceed. We have stated our commitment to be responsibly efficient. Yeah, so, and I applaud what Arundel has done. You can't open the windows and the air quality is a little lousy in the building, but there may be some trade-offs necessary. But at any rate, we will be working to have the building as efficient as possible. And we will take in all these points of insulation and everything that has been presented during the design phase. But there's no reason to not allow this to move forward because we haven't done all that work at this point in time. To spend that money and then have a no vote come has been throwing away a hell of a lot of money. And that doesn't make sense. That's why
It would have been
process is
$500,000
designed.
or so.
Yeah, designed the way that it is. So thank you for the information, and we'll look forward to considering it.
My name's Dick McCabe, come from town. On the funding, why couldn't we sell some property off that land that you're working on? We got $10 million in that land, and then it wouldn't affect the taxpayers. if we sold some pieces off that land rather than raise our taxes.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
Hi, Nick Phillips. I live on Reed Lane, so
Hey,
we're in a
Nick.
butter
Hey,
to
Nick.
the village parcel, and ipso facto, we're butters to the town hall. Could you put your picture up where you had the site thing showing the streets and everything, whoever has that?
sure, do it, flip it back.
Passed,
That
right there.
one. That one?
So, yeah, So if you look at that house that's down in the left corner, that's the River House, that's the Lorden's house over in the corner there, and our neighborhood goes past that. So my understanding, and I'm asking questions, right?
Sure.
That the development of this property was supposed to begin at North Street. So if that's the case, is that tiny little road the only conduit to developing this property past the town hall as it occurs? Question number one.
You're talking about timing.
Pardon me?
You're talking about timing?
Yeah, I mean,
on
if you
development,
look
yeah.
right there, you see, I mean, you guys, your property line is very precise, right? Your one road coming into the parking lot, is that going to be the only conduit to allow development to occur on the rest of the village parcel in the future? That's my one question. And you
Yeah,
can discuss it
okay.
with your architects and everything.
Yeah, no, oh, go ahead.
And then number two is when picking this village parcel, I notice, and I just want to do this so that I'm not up here twice, that one of your, number four, you've got 8 acres that you bought for something like $400,000 next to Parsons Field, wherever that is, because I couldn't find it on site maps or anything like that. Why didn't you use that property? If it's next to the school, I mean, there's transformers, there's all the infrastructure, and infrastructure was one of the main things that made this village parcel so difficult and expensive to develop in the first place when the town looked at it twice before they bought it. Am I correct?
I don't know about that last statement.
Well, I mean, I can remember they came to us one time and they wanted $5 million to buy it, and that was down.
No, we authorized $5 million to buy it when it was going bankrupt.
Right,
That
okay,
was-
and that
was
didn't
very-
happen.
That wasn't a
Okay,
sale price.
okay, well-
That was the distress price.
Okay, well, yeah, so going bankrupt, I don't think you got a lot of bargaining from the owner, but then it became 10 million, and we went to that meeting, and it went through, and that's all right.
Yeah, and there were
So I'm
other,
just
there were
asking.
other people there. I mean, it
I
was to
understand.
buy it or to lose it.
I understand.
It was to
I
have
think
the
there
asset
were-
for the town or have 80,
Yeah,
market price homes. So,
I
yeah,
understand.
good.
So do we want to go back to question one? So is question one, yes,
Yeah,
that
well,
is the
the
only?
answer is that when this whole area is being developed, there's going to be a road that goes through all the way to School Street. And that'll be a road, it's all to town codes and everything else like that.
yeah.
So the answer is yes, it will be developed.
And it'll be,
That road.
that's the beginning
Yeah.
of the whole thing.
That's the beginning of the road that comes off of
Okay.
North Street, and then that,
And it'll go to School Street on the other.
I understand.
and whatever happens through the rest of the development, whatever, everything has to come back to
Okay,
the
and
town.
That doesn't seem to be a problem, heavy equipment rolling over that road, parking there and everything. I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, that's a good
The
answer.
road has to be
Okay,
replaced,
all right.
it'll be
that-
replaced. It
Well,
will be
all right,
good.
okay. And then how about the 8 acres that the town already owns? Why, did you look at that when you decided where to build this
Yeah,
thing?
absolutely.
did.
The
Where,
slope.
I don't even know where it is. Could you explain
Well,
it to me?
well, if you're looking at the rec center on School Street,
Uh-huh.
and you look off to the left,
Uh-huh.
there's a slope that goes up. That's the 8 acres.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a lovely
And-
piece of property.
mhm.
Yeah, and it was no less expensive to build there than it was to build here. There are problems in the slope of that area, in the ground,
Mm-hmm.
in the prep, and it was no more attractive
Okay.
than what this site is.
Okay, but you propose selling that to offset some of the cost of this.
Yes.
You think anybody's gonna buy it? We
Well,
don't want it.
if they're not going to build a town hall, they might.
So it's,
I don't know if anybody is, ready to build a town hall there, but.
Okay,
yeah, so that was the subcommittee we had that I had asked, that we pulled together. And that was Lori, Mike, and myself, with the onus of, just don't want taxes to go up. right? And so what can we do? So the proposal was, what could we do? So we sat down in a room and went through what properties the town owns. I think we've talked in previous meetings that the state of Maine passed a law based on the Supreme Court ruling in Ohio that any tax-acquired land, is no longer, the town can profit from that. So that really put us back to land that the town had purchased outright. One of the properties is in this warrant that Mike spoke about, warrant number 3, which is 1 acre on Beacon, Beechwood. And then the other parcel that was owned was what we call the McCabe parcel, which is 8 acres that John talked about. We do own 5 acres right next to it that John also alluded to, but we didn't propose that because that's supposed to be an expansion, maybe sometime in the future, potential expansion in the future if needed for the wastewater plant.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Denora Ellis, I'm a Kennebunkport resident. You had mentioned something, Mary Beth, about the budget, like not to exceed, and that how we all, when things are tough, we cut down on the budget, right? You gotta stop doing your nails or doing your hair or whatever. What would you cut if that was the case?
So I think we'd have to start looking back at square footage usage. I don't know. I mean, if it depends, for example, when Mike was speaking, he already started to talk about reducing the height of the cathedral ceiling. He talked about we're really costed out right now at a base level materials, so it's not the Taj Mahal being built, you're not going to walk in and see gold-plated anything. So it's base level materials. So I think it really would come down, the levers that we'd have to pull would have to start being square footage. That would probably be the biggest bang for the buck. You look at, some of the areas designated there. So do you go from 3 potential meeting rooms down to 1, plus the larger room? Just as people that are designing houses right now and going to their, with their architect and then going to their builder and then getting the shock value of the price tag are now making those trade-offs. Do we need a study or a den, or do we need an extra guest bedroom, And so those are the things that I think we'd have to start looking at. And as we've talked about here, how do we get to, as John alluded to, a net zero, So we have to think through what we can afford in a not to exceed 8.8, and then likewise, what funds can we raise?
So instead of waiting for prices to go up or, to have to do that, why not do that now? Or is that, have you thought about?
Well, no, I think we have, and again, this design for the 12,000 square feet allows for some growth. And there is a good reason for that. When Arundel Hall was first spec'd, they wanted 9,000 square feet. That's what the assessment, I'm told, and I met with some folks there, and it got knocked down to 7 plus, and now they're in a situation where they need to expand, and they're tight. They've got no room. So when you're building something that's going to last for 30 to 40 years, you need to have a responsible amount of growth built into that design. And I believe we've done that. We've held it as tight as we can, but as to Mary Beth's point, if we find that for some reason we can't get inside the budget, then we'll look at maybe having to go smaller. But at least we'll have that room to do it with. So I can't say that's what would happen, but it's certainly something that we would have to look at.
But you would have the land to expand in the future, though, right?
You would have the land with quite a bit of cost. I mean, you wouldn't want to build a building to put 4 new people in it. So as you start to, you need to have some room to grow organically before you would physically build a new building.
But as said, as Mike alluded to, there's that door that exited out that was, in the future, right away off of that building, another 900 to 1,000 square feet. If you shrunk our footprint because we ran into a cost issue, then, you know, in that building envelope would more or less probably still say the same. You would just have to do that at a latter date, right?
There's
If
also
needed.
one, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nope.
There's also one thing you have to remember. Kennebunkport is not Arundel. Arundel has roughly, what, 4,000 people, something like that. We have like 3,500, but we have 12,000 in the summertime, 4, 5, 6 months. And if you were to go down to the Old Town Hall in the summertime, you all know that you go in there, you've got to wait a while because it's so crowded and everything else for 4 or 5 months. I mean, they don't have 2 harbors. They don't have hotels and motels.
That's it.
I mean, this
Restaurant.
is a 12,000, half the year, it's 12,000 people in this community. And you have to have a building to be able to get into it, to do your business, and you have to have people that wait on you. And it's just totally 2 different towns. And you can't compare both of them together because they're not.
Bill?
I'm not going to get emotional, but you do have some experts in the room here who have solar experience.
Yes.
I thought I'd give you a few facts. We built our house in 1995, just off Route 9, next to the Batson River, and it was built as a solar house. We generated hot water on the roof for radiant floor heat and also photovoltaic panels. Well, in January, we came on board with Central Maine Power with a 13.5 kilowatt array. It's the full south-facing roof. Before that, we were paying around $400 a month for our electricity because we were also charging an electric car. Since January, I've been paying $1 a day for electricity, $30 a month. And that's, I think the hookup fee is $35 or something like that. And this has not been one of your better sunny summers here in Maine. We all know that. The tourists can certainly endorse that. So I encourage you to focus heavily, as Arundel did, on offsetting your operating costs with solar panels that will not just sitting on the roof, but that will follow the sun and give you extra energy when you need it. We're delighted to be here. I think it's time, more than time, for a new town hall, and I'm glad you folks have gotten this far along.
Hey, thanks, Bill.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. And again, I encourage anybody, if Bill would open his house, it is amazing to see. It's amazing. Anybody else want to speak? No? Dave Kling.
Thank you. I wasn't going to, but David Kling, Kennebunkport. John, you made a comment about what might have been had we not purchased the village parcel. I just wanted to underscore that. For my sins, I was the chairman of the planning board through the whole process of approving that development of approximately 85 homes on that site. And I thank God and the town manager and the Board of Selectmen for their vision and their willingness and their courage to purchase that site when we had the opportunity. Otherwise, we would have probably had 80-some houses, the majority of which would be seasonal.
And over $1 million.
Well over $1 million.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably not what we really need in this town. So I'm delighted to see that we're taking advantage of that purchase, and I'm really impressed with the process that you have all gone through and the work that's been put in. So, you know, 3 cheers for you guys. It's just, I think you've done a great job, and in a lot of ways, doing this kind of opens the door to thinking about other uses that I know the town has opined upon for that incredibly valuable resource. So anyway, thanks. Great job.
Thank you. Dick Smith, do you have something?
Hello, Dick Smith, Cape Porpoise. I had the pleasure, the honor of being selected to work as one of the 15 people on the committee that was part of this design. And I've got to say, they really wrung it out thoroughly in doing so. And just some of the things that I have heard about it tonight, I wanted to try to clarify. For instance, the discussion of growth. There is modest space included in the design, or space for modest, very modest growth within the design is what I should say. But as they showed that off the, I guess it would be, well, look like the north end if this is oriented north-south. Off the left-hand side of this, there is an available space should the building need to be expanded. But right now, they're not looking to add a lot of space over the needs of the current staff, just a very modest projection of growth in this design. The office sizes themselves, they're not palatial. I mean, they're suitable, but they are far different from the office sizes available in today's town hall, which, by the way, 60 years ago, when that was made the town hall, our population was roughly half what it is today. Our year-round population, our summer population was probably less than half. Am I, okay. And so we really have a served community that is much greater than the voting community, if you will. And to Alan's point about the differences to Arundel, the 4,000 people in Arundel live in their homes. The 3,500 people in Kennebunkport live in their homes, but there are a lot more homes from which we collect taxes where the people don't live there. They visit for part of the year. So at any rate, I want to thank the Sebago Technics and Hayes Engineering for doing what I consider a very, very good job for moving this forward. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody out in TV land? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on.
We have,
Of course you can talk, Rob. Oh, wait.
Hello. There's a few things. The most important thing is to consider the future of the town and the young people here trying to stay here. Putting excessive bonds on them, we have a lot of bonds, and that's a lot to ask, especially when we have 694 less people than Arundel. Why do we need such a large town hall? And I know, you know, you've said you've heard this, but we've heard you too, and nothing changes. So I'm just wondering, why put this debt on the future? I don't necessarily agree with selling town land. I mean, in Maine, that's not exactly what Mainers do. They try to hold their land. Maybe they pass it on, but I don't feel that, you know, just Mr. McCabe's land should just be sold because, you know, that doesn't seem to make sense.
It's town land.
Right, I understand, but he still takes care of it, and I think it was for the schools. I also wonder who sued the town in 1999. Can you tell me?
No. Oh, it was a group of residents.
So, how large a group, like?
Oh, I don't know, Robin, I wasn't involved. I don't know, I actually don't.
So,
We can find out, if it's important to you, we will
I
find out.
think it is important.
We can find that out for you.
And the other thing is, it's been so divisive, primarily because people felt like they didn't have any warning. And you say 15 people, but really, it was mostly town staff. And you and Mr. Dykstra were on the Citizens Committee, but you're both select members. So, you know, that can be a little intimidating, working with someone, you know, maybe they didn't get to say what they wanted, just guessing. And I don't think good leadership seeks to divide our community, and it seems like no matter what comes up, it's very divided. So I agree, we need a new town hall. There's no question, but I don't think this is the way, and I don't think that people want to sign up for all these bonds. I mean, you know, and what about the pier? That is needing work now, and why does this come before the pier?
I don't know, I don't understand what you're saying. What do you mean comes before? You mean
Well,
in
it
order,
seems like-
in order that we're talking about it, or?
Well, in order that it's being fixed, I mean, the pier needs work, we know that. The reason for the special town meeting, according to Mr. Dykstra at the time, was because it had to be started last November. Well, we're 2 weeks away from November and nothing's happened.
Do you
So,
know why? Well, wait till you're done. Go
yeah,
ahead.
well, I'm just saying that's a consideration. I would rather see the lobstermen be able to continue fishing, and we seek something smaller and more, you know, cognizant of the cost. And I know we have summer people here, but to be honest, I went on tax day to pay my taxes at 12 in the afternoon, and there was parking everywhere. Most people, the locals I've spoken to, have not had trouble parking. I know we need to resolve it, but this is too big, too much, too little public input for me to think this is a good idea. Thank you.
Well, a couple of things, I'll just respond to you by,
Okay.
you don't need to stand up there, you're fine. The first one is the pier, and the pier is extremely important. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit. It's extremely important for us and also for the fishermen. And Alan here is one of the people who's been pushing it, and we all have. However, we don't have any control over the Army Corps of Engineers and the people with the permitting process. And so what's happened to us is the permitting process has slowed us down. And so we are still working on some of the permits. And I don't even know, Mike, when we get to it, Mike can address that. When we get to that tonight, but I don't know where the permitting stands, but that's what slowed us down. There's nobody here putting anything before anything. We're doing the best we can when they come up, and we're going on it. And we started planning the pier probably 2.5, 3 years ago. And that's how long it takes to get permits. I mean, it's not like an overnight thing. And so that's that one. And as far as parking, you were lucky to be able to go down there. I can tell you to pay your taxes because I go down there almost every day, and I have a hard time finding a parking spot. So I think it means what time. If you go at noon, it'd be easy because most of the people go out to lunch, the employees, so you'll find a spot. We'll mark it Robin's Spot, okay? For Robin's Spot, we'll do it, okay? Okay, all right, thanks. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Oh, 2 hands raised, okay. There wasn't any of them the last time.
Oh, you can speak.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just wanted to say.
Identify yourself, please.
Oh, sorry. Laurie Willett, resident. And at a couple of presentations ago of the town hall at a select board meeting, it was stated that the cost didn't include solar. So the reason I'm saying that, I know that tonight you've said that it's going to be a net zero building, but there's also the not to exceed thing. And I'm wondering if, because solar wasn't included to begin with, if it would be in danger of just being cut or not making the budget.
Okay, I'll answer that. If you go back to the minutes of the meeting and read the minutes, it very clearly states in there that Laurie Smith, the town manager, said that it includes solar, and it always has. So I don't know where you got the point where it did not include solar. It's in the minutes.
Okay, I'll find the meeting, because I was actually at the meeting in person.
If that was the case, it was a misstatement. I'm sorry if I made it, but it was a misstatement.
I think Lori also stated during that, I think what you're referring to also is that we were looking at grant money.
Yeah, we're looking at a lot
So
of, yeah.
I think there's maybe some miscommunication in terms of it's included, not included, but it's really, the town is looking to go after grant money to fulfill that
No,
cost, right? Or-
it's included, Mary Beth.
No, no,
Yeah.
but in terms of
Oh, yeah,
grant-
we are going after grant
Yeah,
money.
grant money,
yeah.
and I think that's
So
where
if
the-
you look at the minutes, it's what it is.
Yeah, but I think that's where the
Okay, I got you.
nuances.
Yeah, we were looking at grant money.
It's the latest.
That's true, yeah.
Yep.
Yes. Oh, wait a minute, we had somebody else out in TV land?
Is Lori done?
Yes.
Yes.
We have Stephanie Bryant. Okay, Stephanie?
Hello. Hi, yes, Stephanie Bryant. I'm based out of the Goose Rocks Beach area. I was actually at the last Selectmen's meeting. And I just wanted to put a few things out there. I just wanted to say that I very much agree with what the Selectmen were saying, that the village parcel presents a really unique opportunity for a new town hall location, or among other municipal options. And I do think it's very much worthwhile being explored. And now that we have this very valuable asset, I do think that it's important to maintain it and just kind of see what our options are without making any hasty decisions. And with that also being said, though, to Robin's point, I think she did make a valid point that, and it's something that I discussed last week as well, that through voting for yes on question 3 and 4, we would lose 2 existing town properties, being what was the former McCabe parcel in regards to question 4, and then we would lose the existing town hall, assuming we vote in this new town hall on question 3. And I know personally I'm opposed to, at the very least, losing the existing town hall, and I just wanted to make that point for folks at the meeting and listening at home, that we would lose that building if we were to approve question 3. And a few other things that I just wanted to note was that in some comparisons to other communities in southern Maine, York in 2022 has had a proposal for a $6.3 million town hall that was 8,300 square feet. They have a population of about 12,500 people in 2010. Elliott, Maine in 2023 is looking to approve a $4 million town hall, 8,000 square feet. They have 6,750 people in their population as of 2018. They'll also be including community space, and they're proposing to include some community spaces in there as well for the public. And just one last comparison, South Berwick is also this year up for, they have a few options that they're looking into, whether it be renovating their existing space, a portion of their existing space, or creating an entirely new building. And the quote for that new building for their town hall was $6.4 million for about 11,600 square feet. And their population is 7,500 people in 2018. So I just wanted to provide those numbers for everyone, that we, I think there are options for us to consider. And I did email all of the selectmen and make note that a cost comparison would be really helpful, just seeing what the options were and what the costs were to all those different alternatives. Right now, we've just been given this $8.8 million option with no other alternatives to compare it to. And for myself personally, I feel like that would be really helpful. But I value everyone's time here tonight, and I appreciate you guys for taking the time to answer everyone's questions and provide everyone information. And I will say I have been sending emails to folks in the town, staff and selectmen alike, and the staff has been very responsive in getting back to me and answering those questions. So I appreciate them for those efforts. And thank you guys for tonight. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie's right on. I have looked up a lot of these, the same thing she's talking about. And York spent $7.3 million on an expansion and a renovation, and it was roughly 7,000 square feet, and they spent $7 million. This was 2 years ago. It was 2022. So anyway, she was right on. So, and there are a lot of differences out there, and what we're saying is that we're going out for bid, and like we say, 8.8 million is a not to exceed. I'm really expecting that we're going to be able to get it down some. So anyway, I appreciate the question. She's right on. Go ahead, Melinda.
Melinda, you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Yes, hi, I am. This is Melinda Anderson down in Goose Rocks off of Route 9. I'm wondering if the consultants or the engineers could address the budget part of the solar in there. Is that real? Is the building designed for solar? I know that there was some mention that there would be kind of some accommodations, but I know when one of the residents spoke on solar, it was talked about that it could be added in the parking lot, and maybe trees would have to be cut down. That's one question I would like to go to the consultants and engineers. The other question I would have for them as well is for it to be an energy efficient building. I know I watched the July 13th meeting again, and I had questioned faux windows that I had heard at that meeting, and then the town manager said she didn't know what that was all about. But since then, I've rewatched that, and there are faux windows, and from what I can see, they're on the southern side of the building, which is the most, side that would give energy efficiency to that. And I do have one more question, but I would like those answered first, if that's okay.
No, ask your question, and we'll keep them in order.
Well, I have to find that other question, so I'm sorry about that.
Oh, well, then, time's up, I guess, how are we doing? Go ahead and get your question, and get back to us. But do you want to answer that, Mike?
Can you give me the questions, please?
Oh, yeah, it was hard to hear, but she was questioning the big one is the faux window on the south side, that it blocks sunlight and da-da-da, so.
So if you could go to the second set of elevations?
Yeah.
Actually, this set right here, sorry, go back one sheet.
It's that one right there.
So there's the windows that are on the meeting room, on the lower portion, the large ones that were just pointed to. Those windows are faux windows, yes, and they're basically panels to look like windows. All the windows that are shown on the upper part are actual real windows. So that would allow daylighting to come in. The reason why the windows on that wall are not real windows is because that's the wall that the board or any board is going to be presenting from there. There's also audio-visual on that wall to present to the rest of the seated portion of the meeting room. Right, so if you go back to the floor plan. So this wall here, that's, right.
You don't want to have bright windows staring, at each side of the presentation.
Right. So that'll be difficult to control the light values in the room. So that's why they're not there. The faux windows are just to create an illusion and create some balance to that elevation from an architectural standpoint.
Good. The other question dealt with the solar infrastructure and how the building is ready to accommodate when solar is available, and it will be.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Sure. So there's many options that are being considered for solar panel locations. One of the obvious choices is on the flat portion of the roof. So the building structure will be designed to accommodate that location should that be chosen. And that'll be part of the energy modeling study that we'll be doing. The other locations are ground-mounted, and those would possibly have geo-tracking, or would preferably have geo-tracking, so that as the sun moves across the site, the panels shift and pivot to adopt for that. There are other considerations too, but those are the major ones.
Would you also address, there are parts, you mentioned the membrane roof, and that is a flat roof. How common, is that roof able to handle the snow in our area? I mean, how common is that kind of structure? What other buildings might have that? Is this unique?
No, flat roofs, or generally when we call flat roofs, they're not really truly flat. They have some pitch to them, and it varies from in inches. But so this flat roof, the structure would be designed for a couple of things: the dead load of the materials, the live load of the snow, and all the other elements that are on there, mechanical equipment, and also the weight of the panels. And there's a factor of safety that's involved too. So, so they're designed to accommodate all of that stuff that we experience here in New England, particularly in Maine. They're designed for our latitude. Also for snow drifting and all kinds of other considerations. So there's a structural modeling that happens when you design a roof. The other part,
How common is a flat roof on commercial buildings?
extremely.
Thank you.
Extremely. You know, a building this size, typically, if you tried to put a pitched roof on this entire building, the roof would probably be 30 feet high compared to the walls of the outside of the building, just based on the pitch you would need in order to be able to get proper drainage. You wouldn't be able to fit it within the zoning ordinance, let alone you wouldn't be able to afford it to be built. So.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Belinda, did you find your other question?
I did. Can you hear me?
Yes?
I was muted, so I just wanted to double check. The other question was on the July 13th meeting, which I attended and rewatched on the town's website, which, you know, I don't know if people know that they can do that, but you can rewatch all your meetings. At 1 hour and 34 minutes, it was said that the new town hall being proposed is not programmed in for an emergency generator in its cost. It was not thought that the town office would necessarily need that, and an emergency generator adds an awful lot of cost. So what happens when the power goes out? Like, how is that? So it's, my thought is that the 8.8 million is going to be building on expense, especially with the other part of the budget that was said that the fixtures and furniture aren't included. And before that's answered, the one last thing I'd like to ask is how many people are on Zoom tonight?
We have 13. 13.
So is there, you know, what is the thought of when the power goes out there for heat and sewer needs electric? And from what I understand, even though I'm hearing you folks say it's net zero, right now 8.8 million does not include solar. It sounds like it has some accommodations to prepare for that, but it's not there.
8.8 includes solar, Melinda. I don't know how many times we can say that. It is going to have solar. It is not going to exceed 8.8.
Where's the solar, on the building, or is it in the parking lot that we're going to cut down trees?
That is not determined yet, Melinda. That is going to be determined later in the design.
Melinda, I think you missed the discussion we just had a few minutes ago, and that is that we've been looking on where to put the solar that makes the most sense. It's either going to be, we've looked at the roof, but we know that that only gives us about 26% of the power. We've looked at the lot beside the on the other side of the building. We've looked at cubicles in the parking area type of a thing, and we haven't got the design yet. We don't know which way we're going. We just know that we're committed to doing it.
Where in the cost analysis that was just showed on the slide, where is the solar in there?
It's in the total. It's in the contingencies and other.
I will say I watched the meeting, and I think Mrs. Ouellette was at that meeting that she spoke on, and the town manager said it was not included. So I think it
Okay.
is something to revisit.
Well, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also important to note, the 400,000 that is for the eternal equipment and desks and everything is already allocated in the capital budget. So that's not an additional cost.
Okay, next. Anybody else? Susan. Did you want? No?
Hello?
We hear you, Susan.
Oh, hi, thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Susan Kagan. I live on Old Cape Road. I just wanted to briefly check in with you. Definitely in favor of a new town hall. There are many reasons to be so, but I think my most important feeling about it is that we need to build for the future. We need to be bold. We need to build resilience for our community. And in order to do that, we need a very strong commitment now that is, I think, a little more specific than what we are hearing. And this commitment, this future that is about resiliency and taking care of all of us, yes? Yeah. Is for all of us, for our full-time residents as well as our summer friends. And I want to thank everyone for the work that has been done up to this point. But I think we're really just beginning to understand, and to ask the town to approve an expenditure of this magnitude is important. But it has to convince people that we are creating resiliency for our community, and thank you. I just want to express that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
May I just say that that's very well said, and again, representing, or at least sitting on the Climate Action Planning Task Force, that message will be very clear in what that task force will be presenting. And having the town hall be a leading example of the town expressing this for the community is a critical ask of the task force. So we are in sync, you and I think you will see that being presented to the board.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, not hearing none, we'll move on to question 4. Sale of the School Street property. Does anybody want, do you want to talk about that, Mary Beth?
Sure. So this is what we've been referring to tonight as the McCabe parcel. I think originally when we came forward, putting the warrant together, this was combined with the warrant that we just went through, which was the construction of the new town hall. So this question is posed to the town to see if the town would be open to sell the 8-acre parcel adjacent to Parsons Field. We talked about where its location is right during this meeting. It sits up back past the hill. It's referred to as, from common people around here, as the McCabe property. We believe, as a very conservative estimate, when we put together the offset to the 8.8 million, that this parcel would yield minimally 500,000, but our expectation is that it would be hopefully much more. And it's zoned for village. It's zoned village, right, Warner? So somebody asked tonight about building, so it's zoned for village zoning. And I don't know what else, if anyone else has any questions about it, but again, just to be very clear, it's not the 5 acres that sits next to the wastewater treatment plant. It's just the 8 acres that sits beyond that. And a very important point is that if this gets voted yes, and question 3 for the town hall actually gets voted no, it will not be sold. So at the back end of the warrant, it says if question 3 is not approved, the town would not sell the property. So it is sort of safeguarded in that event. So do we have questions?
Okay, question? Anybody question? No? Okay.
Mike.
Oh, sure. And
Susan Townsley, I'm a Kennebunkport resident.
So I think about this piece of property relative to a lot of long-term planning that's been done in our community. So I'm going to read a couple of things from that. From the comprehensive plan, as we adapt, we will preserve Kennebunkport's historic integrity, protect our natural resources, strengthen our unique small-town character while improving economic vitality. Our tree-shaded streets, scenic vistas, unspoiled coastline, classic architecture, and beautiful landscapes will continue to inspire visitors and residents alike. So if this property is sold, none of that will be honored in probably who will end up developing that land. Okay, again, from the comprehensive plan future land use document. Natural resources. Kennebunkport is rich in natural resources and has a strong stewardship ethic. Forest, coastal resources, and the species that inhabit the town's diverse ecosystems are particularly valued. The community's vision for natural resources emphasizes environmental protection and open space preservation. So I'm really shocked by the thought that in order to reduce costs by 5%, things that we have spent a long time as a community stating are of value to us are now up for sale. Any comments?
Yeah, so I can take ownership of this one. I rightfully so, because I was the one pushing for the subcommittee. So, so with everything in life, there's the balance, right? And we're trying to address the community, and everyone has a different point of view. All 5 of us, including Sheila, have a different point of view. The way I looked at this was that the town, a while ago, purchased the 87 acres known as the village parcel. And they did that, as was stated tonight, there was 80-something units that were slated to go in there. So that is a village parcel, 87 acres, 47 acres of it is developable. 56 is developable land. The survey went out to everyone. People, from the town residents came back in terms of what they would like the usage for.
And number 1 was open space.
Yeah, number 1 from,
Yeah.
which was, I think it was like around a 73%.
That's correct.
High over any other response that we got on any of the other parts for the village parcel.
Right, and so
was
right now, what we
conservation.
have right now is a proposal to create something that even your survey put as number 3 on the
Right.
list.
Right.
And in order to do so, you're willing to sell open space, the thing that was number 1
Right.
on the list.
Right, and again, so again, I take ownership of warrant 4. I am driven for reducing tax impact as much as possible. The budget board came back during this process and said, hey, we want to isolate this into a separate warrant. Rightfully so, the board voted, budget board voted, you now see it as 2 separate warrants. So now the town residents have an option, right? You can vote for the town hall if you want it or not. You also have a separate warrant that says you can vote for the sale of this property to be put against reducing the tax impact of whatever the bond will end up being for the new town hall if that passes.
And
So
if
again,
it passes, if 4 passes,
Yep.
will the town necessarily sell that property?
So
That's another question, I think. Yeah. I would say that would be another debate. That's what I think. The other thing, too, I want, just to the comprehensive plan, when you go through the whole thing, and it sounds like you have, there is, and I don't know the exact words or where it is, but we're trying to also, if you think about that piece of property for housing or whatever, we're trying to direct development or housing towards where we have town facilities like sewer and water.
Yeah,
So that's
I
another one.
understand that
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
I also see this as a piece of property next to Parsons Field. We recently went through an exercise to do some planning about recreational use, the desire being to consolidate recreational use near the school. That was, the kibosh was put on that because I guess of some deed restrictions. And so again, I say, why is the town now selling the piece of property contiguous with that, which could potentially be used for those purposes? It just seems like a piecemeal approach, and it seems like putting a huge resource on the chopping block that will impact the community in ways we can't even yet name.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Thanks. Okay, Melinda? No, it's a
Yes,
different
hi.
topic. Yeah.
Yes, it's a different topic.
Thank you.
I 100% agree with the speaker. That is really the same thoughts that I have, that the comp plan should be honored before your decisions with this meeting, with your committee meeting members. That should have been looked at. And I wonder if that was brought forward to the committee as the first thing to make sure you're adhering to. Because I brought that up at the previous meeting for the energy efficiency, that I didn't find that that was there.
Oh, well, Melinda, I just indicated that the
You
other
have to
part.
speak.
Are you, what's she saying? Oh, I was just.
I thought you're speaking over me. I wasn't quite done.
Oh, no, okay. I thought you were done. I was just trying to explain.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to know that the person that sold the land is actually in the room too. So Dick McCabe is there and still, as far as I know, mows the property. And maybe the intent was a little different than what you're thinking, because to sell now, and that would amount to an 8-acre piece that I think can cut down into 1-acre lots. And the comprehensive plan planning session that I attended at the Nonantum, the sticker board was the most active sticker board. The stickers that went into the question or the part that you would say that you have the most concern for, the most stickers went into overdevelopment. So now we're actually going to develop, just like the village parcel. We're now developers, even though we're attending these meetings and saying what our opinion is. It's like you want our opinion, but you don't. So
Well,
that I am done.
Okay, but there's the other opinion too, that is in the comprehensive plan, and that is, the point I just brought up was that when we're looking at where we want to have houses and so forth, we want them where we have, it's in the comprehensive plan, direct preference for, and correct me if I'm wrong, Warner, we want to develop land or have housing where we have water and sewage, town facilities. So if you have to look at the whole comprehensive plan, and you have to balance, what's going to happen. And so, yes, there is a division. There is one side that says that we want to keep everything, and there's somebody else who says that we need more housing. So we got to strike a balance somewhere, and I don't know what that balance is. Anybody else? Question? No?
But I'd like to just address, I think it's not that it's not being heard, or I think what's happening is that there's warrants up for vote. And then this is the feedback time for the residents. These are the warrants, for better or for worse.
Yep.
And then now we hear back from the collective residents, and it's the due diligence of people voting to make sure that the town is working collectively per what the majority wants us to do. And I think it's a fair. Right.
I
And
agree.
I think this is great feedback. It's great discussion. But in the end, we go to vote. And, like Mike said, these are the warrants that are on the ballot right now.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. Cape Porpoise Pier funding, Mike.
Hi, Mike Cause. I'm still doing some coordination work on the Cape Porpoise Pier. So just a couple quick slides. There's your existing pier is up there now. The repairs are going to be those floats, the new building, and widening of the pier to get better access for the fishermen, and that's what we heard from the pier fishermen. So, next slide. And this is what we're proposing. And we got a new bait shed, got better access. On the left, you've got new dinghy piers for the commercial fishermen. On the right is some proposed docking floats for docking of just residential. What do we call those boats? Recreational. Thank you. Recreational boats to try to segregate them from the fishermen. That was one of their requests, was that in the summertime, you know, somebody comes and ties up even for 10 or 15 minutes, it can disrupt their operations trying to get their catch off their boats. And so that's, and we're also moving the fuel tanks up underground under the parking lot to get them away from get them above low water. So that is what we're looking at. And those are the facility improvements that our engineer looked at. Literally, that bait shed is ready to fall into the harbor. We want to get this done before that happens, right? We're meeting new flood compliance requirements, and I think the new bait shed's going to work better for everybody. We've worked hard with our harbor masters and that we've had since this process has been going, and with the fishermen and the people who use the pier. So we'll talk a little bit about budget, because we were asking for some more money. So we started this out, as you just heard, you're in preliminary design for your town hall. With our preliminary design, we had a $2.3 million budget. We reevaluated that as our engineer started working, and it went up to $3.2 million. We still wouldn't have had to ask you for more money, as we got a little more grant money available. And then in July, as we got our final design done, our engineer estimated it at around $3.7 million. But with that, we sent that off to both Maine DOT. We sent that estimate and our drawings off to Maine DOT for their review, and also to the Economic Development Administration, the Fed. So they all got a review of what we were proposing before it goes out to bid. And basically, we met with the DOT people, and they looked at our drawings, and they looked at our estimate, and they were comparing it to actual costs that they were seeing in projects on the state of Maine, and saying we were too low. So we went through line by line with them where they thought we were too low, and we increased some costs on that. We increased our contingency. I said, you had a 15% contingency on your preliminary design. Our engineer was saying, well, we could reduce that contingency to keep the price lower. What DOT had said was, let's increase that contingency. So that $4.5 million has a 15% contingency in it. So which is not, we're not spending that money. We're just saying we don't know where the bids are going to come in. And that is what they're saying. They're just saying they're seeing very high bids. When I talked to the Federal Economic Development Administration engineer who takes in bids in the Northeast, he's got about 40 projects running now, and he just said the bids are all over the place. You can't decide. You won't know. So we went with what I think is a higher number, the $4.5 million that DOT recommended. And what we did was we took the recreational boat floats, the new hoist that the fishermen requested, and the solar panels and put them as add alternates. And that reduces the project down by about 394,000. So we aren't, what we're proposing is to, which is less than the contingency. So what we said was, let's just, what we're asking for is what you're seeing there, to make up that shortfall of, instead of a $1.1 million shortfall, it's 707,000. And we're hoping that the contingency will take care of the float systems, the jib crane, and the solar panels. But there will be the option for the selectmen to either accept those or not accept them when they come in. But that allows us to say that we have, if we get the extra $707,000 funding, that allows us to say that we can meet the requirements of the bid, which we can, you are allowed not to accept the ad alternates as the selectmen. But if we come in under budget, it's there. So next steps are, we need to address this funding shortfall. We have received our environmental permits, so that is done. So we can go out to bid. So we look to, if we can address this funding shortfall at town meeting, we can go out to bid in January and tell the EDA, yes, we can meet our funding obligations. And then once the bids come in, then we'll see where we're at, and that goes to the selectmen. But I think you'll have the ability to make a good decision when you have the bids. Looking for construction, the contractor, if we have a project award in February, the contractor will start to purchase equipment and supplies, but they won't really start construction until November. Just that's for environmental reasons and to keep them out of the way of the fishermen during the summer. And then they'll go, hopefully be all done by the next winter. That's.
Any questions by anybody? Okay, anybody out there? Okay, moving on.
Thank you, Mike.
Question 6, thank Mike, good job. Easement agreement with the Green Marine Corporation, and this, Mary Beth?
Sure. So in June, last June, the town approved during the vote the purchase of the Langsford Road public boat launch property. And then during this process, after the vote, the town went into its due diligence in terms of surveying. And we found out that unlike what was both thought of by both owners and then the adjacent owner of the property, that the rail system that Mr. Green operates on for boats into the harbor, it was actually owned by the Moonies. So now the town actually would be owning that. So we talked amongst the board members with the town manager and decided that we should still go through with the purchase of that property. It's actually good news for the town if you really look forward to it. It's the line is drawn out further than we expected. Upon thinking through how would we handle this, Mr. Green operates and has operated that successfully as a business and provided a valuable asset to both recreational boat users as well as fishermen and lobstermen to access their boats into the harbor. So what we decided is that we would enter into a short-term lease with Mr. Green after the purchase of the property and then put in an easement agreement that would go up for the warrant for the November vote, and that's what is the ballot on question number 6. And so in a very short synopsis of trying to tell you what the easement means, what the easement does for the town is it still gives us everything that John and the committee looked to do, which was a public boat launch. That has not been, no side effects are, or impacts, negative impacts are made because of this. And then we entered in, what's for vote is an easement agreement that would allow Mr. Green to continue to operate and maintain at his expense the rail systems and provide that service for the people that still require it, and then also for any successors of him if he sold his business. And then there's obviously, if some point they walk away from that, the town would then remain or take ownership of that. So it's not a bad news for the town. It's actually turned out to be a good news where the town in the long run would also be able to make the decision about keeping those rail systems operating. And Alan, anything to?
No, I think you did a perfect job.
Okay. Questions?
Anybody? No? Okay. What is it, the last one? 7. Acceptance of the Cape Porpoise Fire Station for $1. Anybody have a? No questions? Okay.
Tough one to argue.
Yeah, right.
What? Oh,
Are there questions?
from
Or you going to
Oh,
close
Jay.
the town meeting?
Jay, you want to give us an update on that one? I didn't see you standing, I'm sorry.
Good evening. You know, so we were approached back in January by the AVEC, the volunteer, fire company that runs out of Cape Porpoise, that owns the building, about selling it to the town for $1. We've done some more looking into what that's gonna cost, utility-wise and things like that, but Chems also pays 3/4 of the utilities for that building anyway, and we wouldn't see how we would necessarily change anything money-wise for Chems, as far as, you know, they're gonna pay some rent for the building, but, you know, if we end up going high with the rent, they're just gonna want more money from the town. You know, so it's really a win-win for the town, having that building. They've put a bunch of money into it, they've redone the floor, a lot of the electrical, the heating system. It's a good deal, and it's really gonna, in the end, gonna only cost us a minimal amount of utilities.
Anybody got any questions? Thanks, that was a good job. That's good. Okay, now I lost my agenda.
We have to close the meeting?
Yep, I was looking for the agenda.
Yeah, right.
I got too many papers here. Anyway, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye, aye, okay. The next one is the Boatswain Lane Public Street Proposal.
Good evening, Charlie Tremblay, Boatswain Lane. I'm here with a lot of my neighbors, and we were going to do a 100-slide presentation on solar, but then we figured we'd just hold off on that after tonight. So,
do you have solar on? Thanks.
no, we do not. So we can go quickly through this. I mean, when I would actually pitch this not so much as a new proposal as much as unfinished business. So I'm just going to quickly go through the chronology of the development of Boatswain Lane. So this is something that was approved by the planning board back in 2003. It was an 8-lot subdivision. And at the time, it was determined to be what they called a major subdivision, which meant that there was going to be a public street, and there was a lot of requirements that the developer had to commit to before they got approval to do that. So they did this, the street was built, all the lots were sold. The lots were sold, you know, within the first 3 years at an average of $190,000 per lot, because you had a lot of infrastructure going in there with public sewer, public water, underground utilities, fire hydrants, and, you know, not that it's a small one, but also the sloped granite curbing, which was something that the developer actually asked for a waiver for from the town, and the town said no, because they wanted this to be a public street, and they didn't want to have damage from plows. So the developer did all of these things, and it was completed. Then it's where you have 2007, and you had like roughly half of the neighborhood was developed. You had several houses built on it, and the town asked the developer to do the final paving. They didn't do it because they asked to wait until the street was completely developed with all the houses before they did that. Housing and economic crisis happens 2007-8. You don't have other houses built until starting 2019, and now the entire neighborhood is finished. So when the developer was asked to do the final paving in 2007, they said they refused to do that at that time because they didn't want to do it. And then in 2008, the developers requested the roughly $7,000 in escrow that they had with the town to get that back, and the town did that. Unfortunately, the town didn't require the developer to finish the final paving, so that was never completed by the developer. So there is a road maintenance agreement that is attached to the town, to the street, and it's one that the obligations which we have been fulfilling on that, but in the road maintenance agreement, again, it specifies that the town was supposed to be made public. And right now, the street and the common areas continue to be owned by the original developers on this. So this is really just saying this was supposed to have been done, and for a variety of reasons, that happened. There wasn't, somebody just didn't make the request, and so that it was never made to be a public street. But if you now use the new requirements about, whether it connects to other streets, we do have another street that connects to ours. So Cape Woods Road goes off the cul-de-sac in Boatson Lane, and Boatson Lane becomes their access to the Mills Road area. If you're talking about being in close proximity to public areas of interest, I mean, we're very close to Cape Porpoise Town Square. You have a lot of traffic that is not residential traffic that comes down our street. Mills Road is very narrow in the area, so we get a lot of trucks staged there, vehicles there. We get a lot of people who walk because they get access up into some of the Kennebunkport Conservation Trust properties that go in the back end of the neighborhood. And so we just want to again reiterate that this is something that should have been done back in 2007-8, and for whatever reason it wasn't, and so the residents are just requesting the town to consider making it public. And before I pause, is there anything else from the residents? Because I do have the residents from the street are present either here or on the phone.
We should probably stand up so they know we're here.
Steve
I'm a
and
resident, Mel's a resident, Steve and Jenny Kingston are residents. We're just here to support his work, and obviously we would like the town to honor what they agreed 2 years ago.
So let me ask Chris, what shape is the road in and what has to be done and all the stuff? Have you had a chance to look at it?
Yes, so this just came to my attention last week that there may be a request. So I did take a ride down this past week on Thursday. Didn't have a whole lot of time to look at it, but just some of the stuff that I could note is that the base pavement that is currently down now is in fair condition. There would need to be some minor potholes repaired before, overlaying it. Right now, without, cameraing, both the stormwater infrastructure as well as wastewater infrastructure, we wouldn't know what kind of condition that's in. So I think that would be, a question as of right now. There is a sidewalk down there. The sidewalk in a few places probably needs to be reclaimed. It's minor, it's been grown over with turf, but I did note that the sidewalk is small enough that our trackless will not fit on that. We need a minimum of 52 inches, so, we would likely be damaging turf at that point. Not that that can't be fixed, but usually, in neighborhoods such as this, there's underground sprinkler systems. We tend to get into that with the trackless, so it kind of, it becomes troublesome for us. I think the curbing down there, it's a nice sloped curbing. It didn't appear to be set in concrete. One concern that we would have is when we put one of our 5-ton dump trucks in there with a wing plow, there's a possibility that we push up against that, and that would get disturbed. There's some landscaping in the cul-de-sac. They have several trees down there. I think there would be a question as to who would be responsible for maintaining that. Another concern that I would have would be a place to put snow. Not that it's been much of a problem the last several winters. We've had kind of light snowfall amounts. But I think as winters go on, obviously there's a potential for, larger storms and maybe more frequency. We'd get to a point where we wouldn't be able to simply just plow the snow back. We would need a snow dump. Because if not, we would have to go in with equipment and remove that snow so that the road still stays wide enough for emergency vehicles, fire trucks, et cetera. You know, they are correct, it does connect to another private road. The issue with taking that road would be, it's really a driveway. It's
Yeah,
narrow.
It's a driveway. It's not a through street, though. That's the thing. It's not a through street.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay.
That's just some of it, you know. Didn't have a lot of time to spend down there, but that was just some of what I noticed.
So, pleasure of the board. We have a disagreement here on, not a disagreement. We considering A, B, and C, and we're having a problem. We think that you don't meet those three. So, or at least some of us think that you don't meet those three. So what we'd like to do is, and there are some other arguments in here that we'd like to take a look at. So I'd like to suggest that we table this to the next meeting, so we can have a good look at it with Chris and with the other stuff.
I agree with that, yeah, I think we should.
I've got some questions. We can ask, we'll ask them later then, so it doesn't.
Yeah, and you know, I'm one of the guys that signed
Yep.
and when I was on the planning board back in '03.
Yep.
Yeah, so, but ordinance has changed, so,
But, so the developer still owns the road,
Yes.
yeah.
and the developer was supposed to put a top coat on.
Yes.
Had a $6,800 escrow, got the money back, and has never put the top coat on.
Correct.
But if the town takes it over, we're gonna have to put the top coat on for the developer.
Well, I think that's where we have to have a
Is that what
discussion.
that's saying? That's what that's what I did.
Well,
Yeah.
but I think what we would say is, if the town fulfills its obligation, which is give us a road that was finished based on what those criteria were back then that's what the neighborhood's prepared to do, is give it that street. So we're not asking the town to do the top coat of the street,
Yeah.
because the developer should have done that, you know, but it would be nice if the town does provide some help and support to make sure that the developer does at least contribute to getting that top coat. I mean, is that fairly stated?
Oh, that,
Are they still in business?
They're both, they're both local business people. They're not in partnership, but they're both local business people.
So the town would be taking it over after a top coat was properly installed and inspected and accepted by the
Yes,
town?
yes.
but we can't influence the developer. It's a private road. So,
Well, indeed, yeah.
are you, Steve?
Yep, come up, Steve.
So it should be noted that, first of all, I appreciate you guys even
And
considering
who
this.
are
and I-
you?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name's Steve
thanks.
Kingston.
Thanks,
And I
Steve.
own 10 Bosun Lane and also a vacant lot at 8 Bosun Lane. And I was also around when you signed off on this.
I know.
So, and before that. So, and with all due respect, I really appreciate, you know, obviously your services and everything else. One thing that, even with the McCabe thing, I do have to tell you, it's kind of hard to sit back and remember things that you'd heard about the sale of that property, and then there's a brand-new board, and I know there's some history here, but there's also, it's like you don't really completely
Why don't you stick to your,
remember. I get it, but the point was, the appetite was starting to wane by the town on taking on these roads. And so originally, it was not necessarily a strong intent that you would, unless it was done correctly. And these developers did it very much correctly. There's a big wide turn. I mean, I'm not an expert, but the gentleman that spoke before me, it is better than most, I think, in most roads. Again, I'm not an expert at it, but they did everything. But the town held this money in escrow, and then they just gave it back to them.
yeah, I'd like to know the history of that. When was that, you know?
It was,
Sorry.
Charlie,
Yeah.
Charlie would know better.
So in 2007, when this happened, you know, there was only 3 houses built. So this goes back to the town wanting the developer to put the final top coat on. And the developer said, we'd rather wait until the street gets fully developed. But then I said, financial crisis occurs, there wasn't another house built on that for the next, 10 years.
A while, yeah.
So, but then after that, you know, they've already sold all the lots, so the developer has the money from selling the lots. So they don't tell the neighbors on the street that, by the way, we're not gonna do the top coat, but everybody thinks that they're going to do it. And then 6 months later, there's a letter from the developer to the town and to the bank to reduce the letter of credit for the development of it, because they're saying that it won't take that much more to finish the street. And that's all in the notes. Everything I'm drawing from is actually in the files. this is nothing speculative.
I believe you, yeah.
Then 6 months after that, you have the developer then sending a letter to the town, basically requesting the money that is still in escrow. There's no other communication going back and forth about, did you complete what you were supposed to do? Nothing. But then a few months later, it's approved and they cut them a check for the money that's in escrow.
And by the way, that money didn't come anywhere close to what it would actually cost
Exactly, no.
to top coat that back then.
Exactly.
And I was too naive and too nice at the time to say, you know what, guys, I agree with you. There's only 3 of us up here. We don't want to, every time a construction project goes on, it beats up the road. Let's wait. And then, lo and behold, Charlie moves in and does the diligence to find that 10 years prior, this money was just given back to them. So, you know, now, and I think we are, based on our meetings, and I don't necessarily want to speak for the entire group.
I got you.
And if we do have another one, but that we are prepared. We would love a good faith effort on the town's part to say, yeah, you know what, guys? If you top coat this, we'll take it on. And I know that the appetite isn't great to be taking on new roads, especially with all these developments, but this does go back many, many years and there's a lot of documentation that you were very positively willing to take this on if, you know, the developer did what he said he was gonna do. He did everything except the final top coat.
And I can send you the copies. What I was trying to do is keep this short, but I can send you all of the correspondence that was in it, the letter to the town. So Larry Mead, who was the town manager at the time, explaining what it is they were going to do, what they had to do, and that they had gotten an estimate that was only going to take $10,000 to finish the work on the street. That's what led to a lot of this. And then, again, at the end of the day, that's when the towns did not have an appetite for doing more public roads. And so the developer basically just put their hands up, walked away from it, and nothing was communicated to the residents that any of this was happening. And that's why when people then built the other houses, I remember I asked a question, I said, so when are you guys gonna do the final paving? And every person on the street said, the developer said, once the houses are all completed, they're gonna be paved. And then I started digging into it and
then they were just completed.
Yeah.
And now we start digging this up and we find out long gone. And to be honest too, there's a little obligation on the town's behalf to help us find that money.
I'm not so sure that yet. So
Well, that's fine. I'm not
that's why
asking you to agree.
I'm just saying.
it's not a legal
I understand.
obligation.
Yeah,
But
at
I think
all.
what we're asking,
I
what
gotcha.
we're asking is to
Yeah.
say,
So that's
don't
why.
measure us by the
Yeah.
criteria today. It's,
That-
I said, fulfilling the obligation that was made based on the
Yeah.
commitments that the developer did,
Gotcha.
and that the residents now bear from a financial standpoint.
I got you.
And
What we want to do is, I think we would like to, I'm going to make a motion that we table it so, till we get all of the facts.
That sounds
And
great.
we'd be fair to you, we'd be fair to you and fair to
Absolutely.
us,
Absolutely.
and
Makes
see,
sense.
see what it is, yeah.
The only thing I'll add perhaps is there are 2 vacant lots on that space, and after some consulting with my neighbors, we might be able to figure out a way where to dump this snow, because we have no intention in building on our vacant lot. So at least for the foreseeable future,
Okay.
we're happy to dump snow if it helps the town guys, so. And I'll check with the other
You're
guy.
happy to build an affordable house on that lot?
No, well, if it
You may
works.
want to talk, to one of your Heritage Housing Trust board members who owns a large piece of property on Cape Woods Road.
I know him well.
Right.
Unfortunately, we're gonna be losing him.
Thanks for your consideration on it.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
great, thank you.
Okay, moving right on, we've got, we need a vote on that.
Yeah, we need
Make a motion to table, item number 5, Boatswain's Lane, public street proposal until next meeting.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, next one is extension of the Climate Action Plan Task Force member terms to March of 24. Do you want to do that, John?
This is, I would like to, yeah. I would like to make a motion, and let me find the names, so we need to put the names in the record. I would like to make a motion that the board extend the Climate Action Task Force period, the task force, until March of 2024, and approve the membership of the task force as Jen Armstrong, Ella Boxwell, Harvey Flashen, John Dykstra, Michael Weston, Steve Kagan, Fred Stafford, and Pam Morgan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay,
You were
all
putting-
those in favor?
You were
I'd be
put-
scared
You
there.
were, you
I
were
was-
putting us to sleep with your voice. We were waiting for you to just, keep reading names.
Okay, so the next one is authorize the warrant.
So moved.
Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, we got,
We just got to,
don't we always just so move it? Go ahead. I can't
No,
hear you.
don't make her talk. No, she can't talk.
I guess we won't do anything else.
So I think we're
We'll
good.
let Tracy do it.
I can do it real quick. So basically, you did sign the warrant back in September, and after that, we realized that there was a typo. So we just wanted to do a new warrant so that it was clean and clear, and there was no confusion in the future. It was something that, when they broke out question 3 and 4, the attorney just had a typo in the language of item 4. So it's just cleaning it up. And we're still within the time frame of being legally able to do that, so that's what we're doing.
Excellent.
And then did we need to do something for item 7?
Yes, I was going to mention, we need
Yeah,
to do,
I was-
we need to appoint Claire Julian as the election warden.
Okay.
And that's just a standard procedure.
But those are separate items.
They
right?
are separate items, yes.
So authorize the warrant.
Make a motion to authorize the warrant for the November ballot.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, okay.
I make a motion to appoint Claire Julian as elector Warren for November 7th, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Just for clarification, she's been doing it way before my time. She did it for April Dufault for many years, so she's very well qualified.
Marvelous.
I can't. Here you go. Write it down. Oh, somebody's raised their hand? On which issue?
Yes, hi. I was just wondering if Tracy wouldn't mind reading the differences that changed the warrant. I did print out one previous. It may not be necessary for me to print another, but just what are the difference? Typo?
The only difference is in question 4, which is the sale of the School Street property. The map block and lot was off by 1 digit. It's supposed to be map 9, block 4, lot 50, which is what the new warrant says. And it was a 9 instead of a 4 in the lot number.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, other business? Anybody? Mary Beth?
No?
I'm good.
Anybody's good?
You have a lot to say, right? But we just can't hear you.
No other business.
Don't
So,
make her
Sign
talk.
language.
Approve the
Same
town warrant.
Ukrainian? I don't know what it is.
So moved.
All right, approve the warrant. So moved. Need a
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, adjournment.
Please.
We're done. Thanks.
Thank you.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
All those in favor? Cut us off.